Welcome back to the Maximum Lawyer Podcast. I'm Jim Hacking.
And I'm Tyson Mutrix. What's up, Jimbo?
How you doing, man?
Doing well. I'm working from home. I did the at the beginning. I did the little clap. Remember we used to do the clap to see where the video starts, the audio starts. Good. I'm at home at the moment. Today's a workout day, so we're recording at 8, and so the kids are at home because they're off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for teachers' workshops.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Why don't they do
yeah.
those workshops in the summer?
Or why don't they do them like the day after Halloween, the day after Super Bowl, things like that that makes sense to me. But I don't know. I don't know why they do it. But so yeah, things are going all right. What about you?
I had to wear a suit yesterday. I actually went to court. I was in the
What?
St. Louis County Courthouse for the first time since well before COVID. I think probably 5 years since I've been in there.
For what?
I have a deportation case, and we're trying to get a conviction thrown out to maybe help our client not get deported.
Oh, so you're actually handling it?
Well, it's sort of a trick that I do that other people don't really in the office know how to do. And the prosecutor and I went to high school together, so that sort of helps.
I gotcha. Well, that makes sense. I was in court with my dad on Tuesday,
Oh,
um, for a traffic ticket. So I thought it was kind of fun. I got to go to court with my dad for the first time, and it was for his speeding ticket. He was um, he so for those of you that don't know, he's a mechanic. Customer had come to him and said, "Hey, I have this issue whenever I'm accelerating," and so he needed it, but it was only at a certain speed. So he took it and he tried to get it to up to that speed. He wasn't on the highway, and so because he didn't want to get on the highway with it, and a cop got him and gave him a ticket. So he was going like it was like 50 or 70 and a 50 or something like that.
mm.
But the I got him an SIS in Boone County. They don't like amend them. It's a different ball game. So I got him an SIS. So that was about the best I could
Even though
do.
he's your dad, they wouldn't give
Yeah.
you a break?
No, they don't do favors, dude. And I get it. It's they don't want lawyers to be favored over non-lawyers, all that kind of stuff. But no,
They also have Highway 70 running right through Boone County, so
yep. So
cash
it's
cow.
lots of college students and all
Yeah,
that. So
yeah.
it's just a different town. But all the surrounding counties are like that too. They're pretty strict counties. Kind of like Greene County, like down in Springfield. They're it's weird. Like some of these counties, they're like very very strict about their speeding laws, which I don't know if that's effective or not. Who who knows? But you had a cool idea about something we could talk about today.
Yeah, and
So
it comes from our friend Dave D. Now, for those of you who don't know, Dave D came to our last mastermind in Charlotte and gave a presentation that I think was pretty well received. I think a lot of people got a lot out of it. And he had a quote today that I'm actually going to use this morning with our intake team, and I will share it with you. Here's what he said: how you present and your personality are more important to conversions than what you say. How you present and your personality are more important to conversions than what you say. And so for me, I'm taking that sort of and I'm segueing into some training on voice inflection, empathy, really I'm trying to get into the shoes of our clients. And I think that for a lot of our listeners, they might benefit from spending some time thinking about what it's like to be the person actually calling the office and how intimidating that can be. And I thought we could spend some time on this episode talking about sort of mindset perspectives and things we can do to try to not only, boost our signups, but also, make people feel like they're heard.
um, there's this guy. I think there's a lot of research that backs what Dave D is talking about. There's this guy that I've watched on YouTube quite a bit, and I'm trying to find his name because he's not like one of the well-known sales guys. He's gotten a little bit more popular over the last couple of years. His name's Jeremy Miner, and his like what he talks about. He does get into some of like the specific things you're supposed to say, but his whole approach is about how you say different things and the inflection in your voice, which is not something you hear a lot whenever you like. I've watched a bunch of sales videos because like that was something we kind of focused on last year. It was a lot about sales, and it is a lot about like the sequencing, the how slow you talk, like when to raise your voice, when to lower the pitch, all that. And I do find that really interesting. And I don't necessarily think that that's what Dave D's talking about, but I think that there's a lot more about this than just like the words that come out of your mouth, because there's a lot of phrases that you can use that I think are helpful, but they don't, if you don't say them the right way, then it's not going to be very effective. But what's interesting about this, and this is what I thought maybe this was something new that you were learning as you're kind of revamping your intake with Gary. It kind of flies in the face of that a bit, and I want to. So, what is your? I just wonder what are your thoughts on Dave's advice versus like what you're doing now the with the intake with Gary.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I actually think it's because I'm spending so much time with Gary thinking about intake that I was receptive to Dave's message. In other words, we're trying to do everything we can to figure out how to improve intake. And this is just one piece of it. So I think it's so very easy for lawyers who are talking to leads or intake specialists who are talking to leads to just view them as one more lead, to just view it as another call that I have to get done before 5 o'clock, or this person is sort of bothering me. But I think we really need to take a step back and think about how are we being perceived by the people that call, right? So Gary's really good about what is it like for a regular person whose son is not a lawyer, who's gotten a traffic ticket or gotten arrested or gotten in a car accident, who doesn't have a son who's a lawyer that can go to court with them. What is that like for them to call a lawyer, right? So that's an intimidating thing. And Gary told the story the other day about how he needed to talk to his banker. Gary's son got a bunch of bar mitzvah money and wanted to invest it. And Gary called the financial advisor who was going to help him set up this special account for the kid. He called it a Robin Hood account or something. I don't know what that means, but I assume it's like our 589 program, that thing that we do for the college savings. And he said the banker called him back 6 different times, which was good, and he appreciated it. But every time he called, Gary was busy. So we need to really spend some time thinking about, it's scary for people to call lawyers, and talking to the lawyer isn't always the most important thing to them at the moment. They have other things going on. So this banker would call Gary when he was, with his kids or with friends or at work. And so we really need to think about the whole experience and remember to think about it from the lead's perspective.
Yeah, there is a technique, and I've mentioned a little bit in the past where, and I don't know who I heard it from, but specifically about the timing of the call. There is this one thing you can do where, like, let's say that you are talking to the lead today, and it's something where like they're not going to sign today, but like they need a day or something like that, or there's whatever, you name the reason why you gotta talk to them later. So you just say, well, it looks like, it's 8:15 now, Jim. Do you think 8:15 tomorrow will work for you? Same time? Is that okay with you? So you give them like that very specific time on the same day. I think it's a pretty clever one, and it's something that we've incorporated. So with that in particular, but there was something. There's a friend of mine that he's had a couple cases with us, and we were talking, and every time. It's not like I plan to have him a client all the time, but he's had a couple of cases with us, and so every time I'm like, hey, critique our process, like let me know what we're doing well, what we could do better at. Like one of the things he said we could do better as like saying who you are, like what, like kind of like what your position is, like in the firm when you call, like because sometimes he's like, I don't know who the attorney is, like I don't know if it's an attorney when they're calling me. So I thought that was a good feedback. But one thing he did say is that it's like the empathy thing, you all have that down pat. Like you all are really just excellent at that. How you really take time with me, and I've kind of wondered how well we've been doing on that. And this is a conversation I just had with him yesterday. But I think a lot of it has to do with this. We did a training a few months back where Ella, one of our case managers who we just promoted to an LRA, her mom came and presented. She's a psychologist. She's a professor at Clemson, and she taught us some techniques on, and I'm trying to pull them up as we're talking, some techniques on like things you can do, and the training was about not re-traumatizing people. That was like the whole the what the presentation was about. But it was very helpful in like having these conversations with people, and in giving it was like empowering. It was about empowering them, where you let them make the decisions as opposed to you making the decision and telling them what needs to happen. You give them a couple options, and the this is not the way she put it, but the way the way I kind of viewed it was there's a lot of parenting books out there and a lot of like people tell you how to parent. And I had either read this or heard somewhere like how you like parent children, you kind of give them options like whenever instead of saying don't eat that candy. It could be something like, well, what you can do is you could choose to eat the candy, but you can't go to your friend's house, or you can go to your friend's house and not have the candy, like that kind of a thing. You give them the option, so they feel like they have a decision in it. But I think there's a lot in that you can use when you're talking to clients where they don't feel like they're being talked at. You can incorporate them into the process.
I'm laughing because just this morning, my teenage daughter didn't want to go to school, but she wants to have a sleepover tomorrow. I said, okay. Now this is me yelling from the bottom of the stairs. You better get up, and if you don't get up, you're not gonna have that sleepover tomorrow. So I don't know if that's the same thing, but um, I think I think we underestimate the fear that people have calling us, and a lot of times, like you said, they're calling about a trauma or something upsetting. One of the things that's fun about my YouTube show is, I do a show where I'll talk to immigrants for an hour, 3 or 4 times a week, for free, and they can ask me questions. And sometimes the calls end up being 20 minutes long. And the people in the comments and the people that come after, they're always sort of surprised by how I'm able to stay patient and listen, especially because you get people telling you the dumbest stuff. Now, sometimes I lose my temper and get mad, but for the most part, I do a pretty good job of just listening and letting people say their piece. And I think there's just this natural tendency to want to rush and get to the next one and just keep going. And I think slowing it down, giving people the opportunity to be heard. I know your team does a really good job of that, not just in the sign up process, but also during the representation, that with your care coordinators and all that stuff, that I think you have a really good system for doing that. I think we've got to remember that we're not selling widgets, we're not selling cars, we are selling expertise, but we're also selling connection and helping people feel better.
It's something. I guess something. How do we balance that though, um, with the situation where the client or potential client? So you're talking about that very very beginning call, and the I mean you're taking a lot of calls, and you really kind of do need to figure out, okay, are you a case or are you not a case, right? And do I need to move you down the line or do I not? Like, how do you balance that? Because that's a really hard thing sometimes, I think, where you want to show empathy, but there's a limit almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, because some people are crazy and take advantage for sure, or they're just lonely hearts that just want to be heard. Yeah, sure. So I think one, you have to have a system for sifting and sorting. You have to be able to say, okay, which path are we going to? And then you need an off ramp. You need some kind of a graceful way to give them value, to make them feel heard, but to move it on rather quickly. So if there's something you can point them to, like for us, people will call and just want advice on a particular topic, and we sort of have a chart of videos that people can go watch. I think you want to have something that makes it clear there's a path for people that want to keep going and should keep going, and there's a clear path for people that don't, and then you got to train your team and train yourself to sort of spot it early, be empathetic, but sort of dance your way off the call as quickly as possible.
Something I do with current clients, and I don't know if you think this is a good technique or not, but I'll run it by you. I will say to the client instead of if I have like another call or something. Sometimes I will do this. I don't. Sometimes I'll say I have another call. I've got to go. But if I really don't like, don't want to offend the person, which I try not to. I try to use this most of the time. I'll say, "Hey Jim, I don't want to waste any more of your time. I've taken up of your time, and I'll go ahead and let you go." Like so, it's like I'm respectful of
Mm.
your time. What do you think about that technique? I feel like
Yeah.
it's pretty good, but I wonder what you think.
Unless they just still really want to keep talking, but yeah, that can be effective. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Help me help you. Yeah, um, I think that's good. I
You got
think
any
that
good, got any good nuggets like that? Like, how do you get
um,
off the phone if someone's like a talker?
Mr. Mutrix, I've really enjoyed our time together. This is not the kind of thing that we're going to be able to help you with. We really appreciate you trusting us enough to call, but we're just not going to be able to take you on as a client, and we wish you the best of luck.
See, that's a good one. So if I'm like talking to a potential client, it'll be mine is something along the lines of Jim, I really have enjoyed this call. I really wish I could help you out. It's just one of those things where it's not really what we do, and so you're better off. You really don't want me as your attorney because I don't do this. I don't do this kind of type of work. What you really should do is call someone that specializes in this, and we'll give them like a name or two. So you should probably call Jerry. Jerry is amazing.
Mm.
Give Jerry a call. We sent you his number, all that kind of stuff. So I talk about how much I would really like to help them out. I'm not the right person for them, and I rarely have I had that backfire. I've had that backfire. I think once where, well, if you want to help me so much, then you'll find a way. Like that kind of a. It's like, ooh. I guess you could try to use that against me, but that tends to be a pretty effective way of getting them off the phone at least without offending them too much.
This is sort of funny because I think I've noticed that from the tone of your voice on this call, some of these techniques you've used to get off the phone with me.
Have I? No, I have not. Have I really?
No, I'm teasing.
I was like, I don't think so. It's funny. I have had someone tell me like their technique they use, and I was like, "You fucker," or I should say, shouldn't say that. You shouldn't cuss, but like you have used that on me, not you, but other people. So, um,
You haven't picked up much on the intimidating part of the lawyer piece. I want to talk about that a little bit. What are your thoughts on that? About, what are some big purchases you've made or big decisions that you've made, and what you, Tyson, and how can that translate into how you empathize with people that are thinking about hiring a lawyer?
ooh, um, well, I guess the first thought when you say that is like there's something, and so I'm gonna back channel through this. There's something that some clients will do to employees that they will never do to me or to the attorneys,
Mhm.
and they'll be like they'll big time them and they'll talk big to them. So there is something about the way people perceive the attorneys versus non-attorneys. So there's definitely something there because the way that they treat the attorneys versus uh, non-attorneys. So there's definitely something there. Um, I I think that the way maybe we should look at it then is you are the professional. You need to act like a professional, which means that when you come into the call, you need to be prepared. You need to know what you're talking about. You need to give them the way forward, explain the way forward to them so they are more comfortable about the process. When it comes to making them feel more comfortable, there is one of the reasons why we do a fact find, like what we call our fact finding call, really, really early in the case because we're not like you where we don't have an attorney signing up the client unless they absolutely insist on talking to to an attorney at the beginning, right? So you're you're a little different because you're taking money over the phone. We're not. We're getting a signature, but we do that to connect with them, and so we do little things where we always tell our attorneys to say like, hey, how are you doing today? Like, so you I know that may seem like a really simple thing or an obvious thing. It's not super obvious to most people, I don't think, to say like, how are you doing today? Like that is not that obvious. I always thought that was a really obvious thing. But you start with, no matter what who you're talking to or when you're talking to, hey, how you doing today? Or if it's like if someone that's lost a child, that's a different approach. But you do like whenever you're getting onto, I know things have been really tough. Like how you doing under the circumstances? So you're acknowledging the situation, but you're starting the call a little different. Um, I guess from there, I mean, we're spending that time on connecting to them, and then we'll also put things like specific things in the notes where um, we're acknowledging previous conversations and things that are going on in their lives. So those are some things. Is that kind of getting to where you're talking?
Yeah, yeah. I think too that we need to think about the language that we use when people call. That thanks for calling. You want to do some reassuring. Let them know that you called the right place. We handle rear end accidents every single day. We just settled a case last week over
Well, do
in.
your attorneys do that? Because I know our people do, our non-attorneys do that, but do your attorneys do that stuff too?
Yeah, yeah. We've been
Oh,
working.
so
We've been working on that.
so that's something. Maybe that's a blind spot for us because we don't like our attorneys aren't trained to be like, oh, like to reinforce that once they've talked to them. We don't actually have them do that. That's something that
Well, it's good for two reasons. One is it demonstrates expertise, but it also builds connection. Like if you say, oh, you like the Chiefs? I love the Chiefs. Oh, you're worried about car accident cases? Oh, let me just tell you about this depot I took last week. Or let me just tell, just showing that. I think that's one of the great things about social media is that if you show people you out and about doing the things that you want to get hired about, then they sort of learn and they discover on their own, sort of like you want a jury to make the decision, that you're the one. They can figure it out on their own that you're the person for them.
yeah. All right. So let's say that I'm calling you for the first time.
Yeah,
It would be something like, hey Jim, it's Tyson. I'm one of the attorneys with Mutual's firm. Just calling you about your injury case. And they'll say, "Hey, yeah, whatever." You'll say, yeah, "I'm Jim. Good. Thanks for calling, whatever."
yeah,
And then we'll kind of go into. I would probably add in like, "Hey, how you doing today?" We'll have that little chat,
yeah.
and then I guess the lead-in would be, I'm really glad you call us because this is what we do every day, and so we're
hmm
really really happy to be able to help you out. That kind of like that approach.
Well, I'd have them say, "Tell me a little bit about your case." So let them go a little bit, give a little bit of detail, and then try to think of something that you've done in the past. Oh shit, I had a case just like this where this truck driver ran over this lady in a subdivision. You
Yeah.
know, that would be a good case.
So the something I teach our people to do is not necessarily ask them that question because here's why. Once we've called them, we've already gotten all that information.
Yeah,
I want the client to know that we know what the
that's
case is
good.
about.
Yep,
So
yep,
Jim, I know you're calling about the case. I know you got hit by the semi, and I'll usually give them like details. It looks like this happened a couple weeks ago, and
yeah.
it looks like you're pretty banged up. You injured your neck and your knee. And then I would kind of go into with what you're talking about. So I want to demonstrate to the client that
Sure.
we know what's going on with your
Yeah,
case.
and you don't want them to feel like they have to repeat themselves.
Yeah, because that's one of those things where we used to intentionally to make sure we had the right information. Because
Yeah.
and this was out of fear. That was out of fear where it was you've because you've dealt with injury cases before. You have people that call and lie to you like that. That was like so we were kind of operating out of fear where people would lie to us and tell us five different stories, and it's like
Mm.
ugh. We don't do that anymore. But it was something that we were for a while operating out of fear, which is not the as you know, it's not the best way of operating. Are we are about at time, so we better start to wrap things up. You got anything else? Any final words?
Um, yeah. Before you take a lead call, clear your mind. Don't bring the baggage of what you're doing in the moment into the call. Try to be as present as you can. I think that's really my special power is when I'm listening to somebody, I'm like totally listening. And I think that really comes across. I think it helps people feel heard. And even if they don't end up hiring you, or even if they do, that's a great start to the relationship.
I think it's good advice. All right. I know I've got a huddle in a little bit. You do too. So I'm going to wrap things up. Before I do, remind everyone to go to the big Facebook group. Join us there. Search Maximum Lawyer. Lots of great information in there. If you want to join us in the guild, we'd love to have you. Go to maxlawguild.com. Vegas Masterminds coming up. Scottsdale, uh, Hawaii is in April, I think. We New York, I think we got a lot going on. I think Savannah might be next year. I don't remember all the different
Savannah's
places.
great.
It's going to be pretty awesome, but excited about that. And so just go to maxwellguild.com, and if you don't mind giving us a 5-star review, we would really, really appreciate it. It helps us spread the word. Jimmy, what is your hack of the week?
Well, we talked about Dave D, and I just signed up a little while ago for his email list, and it's really good. You'll get really good nuggets on presentation, on marketing, on sales. It's free. Just go to daved.com, and we don't have a referral link or anything. It's just something of value that I think you should read his content, but also you should catch the rhythm and cadence of how he contacts you. Like the whole system is really good. He's posting on Facebook 3 or 4 times a day, and every 2 days or third day he's asking, hey, does anybody want to get on the list or whatever. So there's lots and lots of value before there's any ask, and I think you could learn a lot just by watching what he does, not necessarily even consuming what he sends, which is actually very good as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's watching him speak whenever he came to Charlotte was pretty awesome. He's got some really cool techniques. So whether it's presenting or email or social media, whatever it is, he's got some great techniques. But that's good stuff. My tip of the week. I don't think I've given this one. If I did, I will just re-record over this. But I cracked my computer screen. I think I told you that.
Yeah,
So I found a new thing that will hang on. It's by Belkin. It hangs on to
yeah,
the
you did this
Mac.
already.
Oh, I did. I did
Mhm.
this one. Okay. Let's see.
Sorry.
Let me. I couldn't remember if I did that one or not, or if I just told somebody about it.
Well, maybe you didn't because we haven't really recorded in a while. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think you did. You maybe just said it in the guild.
Yeah. So okay. So I guess I'll keep.
Do it
Okay.
again.
Maybe I talked about it early in the guild, but the So it's MagSafe. I bought it on the Apple Store, but you can get it on Amazon too. I saw it both, but like because your phone's got at the back of it's got like the magnet on it for iPhones. I'm sure it applies to Android phones too. I can't imagine only Apple has that as an option, but it you can use it as a camera on your laptop, whether it's a PC or a Mac. So that's something that it's really handy, and you don't crack your screen. So and I've got children coming up with iPads right as the show's ending. So,
Perfect.
um, but yeah, that's my tip of the week.
Good stuff, bud.
All right, man. Good conversation. I'll talk to you. It's recording today, so I'll talk to you plenty of times today. I'll see you later.